That's dope.
That's dope. What's up, everybody? It is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday, May 26th in sunny Florida, aka Florida. I hope that all of you are having a wonderful day, that everything is going well. What are we doing here today? Well, every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I take a look at chart requests for subscribers to my newsletter, my amazing subscribers. So that is what we're doing here today. That is how we choose the charts that we're going to look at. I do not arbitrarily choose them. They are simply their requests, and I won't take any additional requests from the comments. Now, listen, I've had a rough week. I think everybody knows that I'm taking quite the beating on crypto Twitter, but at this point in my life, all I can do is continue to be positive and push forward. And, everybody knows that my goal here is just to spread the good word, help people, and get mainstream adoption for Bitcoin. And I'm just going to keep doing that. And all I can do is try to drown out the negativity with more positivity. I see, obviously, people have been commenting about the fact that I've been blocking people on Twitter, and that I've been turning off the comments on my Twitter. Well, I'm not blocking anyone on Twitter. I'm not even on Twitter. I have a team, and they've been empowered to go ahead and block the shit out of anybody who has something angry to say. So they're doing that. So everybody's having fun, apparently thinking that I'm blocking everybody on Twitter. But I ain't even there, guys. I need a break. I think it's fair to say that it's been a rough time and that everybody needs a break sometimes. So just not really checking on Twitter and not really looking at it. So I have nothing to address, guys. So listen, what's more important, I love doing this with you guys. I do this every single Wednesday. I love looking at charts. This is what makes me happy. So we're going to make it. We're going to make it happen, and we're going to do that. So let me go ahead and share here. That's the newsletter. You can find it in the description. Oh, the most important thing I'm forgetting, because one of those days. 1 second. Let me make sure that this is even working. Where's the Cosmos thing? Is that this is sponsored by Cosmos and by their amazing community. It's not actually even sponsored by the company. The community themselves have decided to sponsor. They're launching their gravity decks, and what they're doing in the space of interoperability is incredible. I suggest that you check out my podcast I did recently with Eric Voorhees, because he goes really, really deep into how amazing Rune Thorchain is and why it's essential that it's built on Cosmos, and how incredible what Cosmos is doing, allowing projects like that to build. So I really, really suggest that you guys check that out. And here we go. And listen, we're going to get a lot of these. Why did you delete tens of your earlier PHL tweets? I explained exactly why I deleted tweets. And my wife is here, and I would not, you know what? The reason is because people were threatening my wife over other tweets of mine that were being used to paint a false narrative. And when people say they're going to kill and rape your wife, you go to extreme measures like deleting other tweets that you think people might attempt to use against you. That's the reason. And if anyone here is a father or a husband and has experienced anything like that, then you would know why I would do something like that. So for now, let's dig into the charts. Yeah. When people threaten your family, threaten your kids, threaten your wife, you do what you got to do. And so deleting tweets ended up being the thing that got me hurt, but I don't regret it. And I would do it again, because the fact is, it was not cool. Anyways. Well, this is Bitcoin. We'll look at that after. The first request here is Aave. You can see that my amazing idea here did not work. It got rejected there, fell to support, and lost that. And now that is resistance. But I think we know that every single thing fell tremendously. And this was just sort of a unique crash those days. And now we need time to reset. But still, actually, nothing here has fundamentally changed. The only problem is that you can't call it a cup and handle anymore, because it retraced from here to here, which is more than, where's my tool? Sorry. Let's call this the bottom of this, right? And this is the top. Wow, that red is triggering, but we'll use it. You don't want to see a cup and handle have the handle retrace more than 50%. So that cup and handle to me is really invalid, but we still do have that sort of rounding bottom and can expect that things might head up. But that's, really sort of become invalidated. I think we're going to see a lot of this on the charts where we had this sort of capitulation bottom that went right through support or demand. Like if you were looking for a knife catch, this is where you would do it, because this area right here, price exited really quickly, which means that there was likely leftover orders, right? And so I don't love these lines. I mean, this line's, they work still actually, but I would, now at this point, think you want to take a look at this as the key highs. And really, like if you're a really safe and conservative trader, at this point, even though it's a huge move to get back up there, like the real trade now to me on this would be, above the highs, because price, we've seen when these alts or coins go into price discovery, how massive of moves they can make when that happens. So we don't love that this made this like only slightly higher high and dumped, but I think we know that's a result of Bitcoin in the market, and that it had actually closed above and should have gone into price discovery there if not for that move. This was where you wanted to buy. If you're trading it super like scalpy and locally, I still think that's kind of a key area, and maybe you can expect it to do that, but you'd have to close above and flip it. That's generally my view here on Aave. AVAX. So funny. This coin, I had John Woo, the president of Avalanche, Aave, on the podcast, and it seems that like no matter what I do to pronounce it correctly, it's wrong, and so is it for everyone else. I was like, Ava. He's like, well, it's not an avalanche, and he was like calling it an. He was like, it's Ava, and I was like, is it an avalanche or is it an avalanche? I would like if avalanche is the thing, I would have said avalanche, So I don't know, but apparently to him it's Ava, so that's cool to know. Ava. And this is AVAX versus Bitcoin. It bounced really right off support here and right off that 200 MA on the daily, which price has never traded below that 200 MA on the daily, given it's only existed this year, because you have to have 200 days of trading before you can get a 200 MA, right? 200 periods. And on the daily, it's 200 days. You'd need 200 4-hour candles if it was that, 200 weeks if it's the weekly, which is why you sometimes don't see those. Trading below the 50 and above the 200, this is a tight kind of zone that you wouldn't mess with if you're an MA trader. But I do like that this, area that I was viewing sort of as support held really nicely. And technically you would want to see come up there. But, if you zoom in, a lot of these are also going to have this sort of potential bear flag vibe here, right? I'm not saying they're going to go down and you have a death cross of the 50 and 200 here on the 4-hour. But like, it's hard to grab trades when you're seeing this kind of thing. I mean, we could call it here. I don't know. Maybe it broke down. I don't think so. And I wouldn't call it a bear flag, but certainly like an ascending wedge, something like that. So, I mean, maybe you can get a little channel out of it with that, and it could be a bear flag. But, the thing about bear flags and the thing about bull flags as well, if you don't want to flip bias, like an ascending channel is only a bear flag once it breaks down, because after you have a huge drop, basically you end up in an ascending channel if you recover and reverse, right? You got to go up somehow. So I don't see it as that huge of a deal to sort of form that channel. But I think we have a key area right in here. It needs to get above, maybe here. I would say like right here, got above it temporarily. But I mean, this is just hard to trade. I think you're fine above 45,107. You don't want to lose it. You definitely don't want to like close below the 200. That's where you would want, like, you might consider putting stops. Well, you got to be careful of the wick. But if you see a close below that, maybe you exit on a retest. You sell a retest of the 200. At this point, I would say, we want to get back above. We're going to see this on a lot of alts. Your recovery bounce might get you back to where they were, but really we want to get above these levels. But this is your supply and this was your demand. Like I said, same kind of thing, right? Off this candle. So if you're drawing demand, this wicked through but held. And that's what we're going to see, I think, on a lot of these, on a lot of these charts. How about putting the chart to full screen? I don't know if I can do that. I guess I don't know. Anyone see my smiling face, which I know everybody is dying to see. That's my view on AVAX. It's a nice bounce. Volume is descending. This doesn't look great. I don't know. You know, Wednesdays always seem to be very weird for us regardless. I can't like scream to jump into that right now. BAT USDT did not even make a bear div there, bull div there on the daily. That's disappointing. I mean, I'm finding these still hard to get a really accurate appraisal of after the dump, right? Because they're all just kind of drifting up on relatively low volume. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing, and we saw it on BNB, I shared it today in the newsletter, but starting to see a lot of inverse head and shoulders forming if these are going to bottom, right? The spike in volume here, spike in volume at the head. So let me just show you what this would look like. I haven't looked at BNB, but it's next. I haven't looked at it since this morning. So you draw a neckline is between the two. So you could actually draw it like that and say it's already broken out. I think that's the fair way. The problem is there's not enough volume really on the breakout. You want to see another like real spike in volume on the breakout. It's a tough one. Maybe this makes a bigger, more defined shoulder. But the idea being that this is kind of a bottoming pattern. I think you could still draw it here. I just would be cautious because not huge. I mean, it is a volume rise, so it counts from these volume rise on the break. So something like that. So if you're trading that, you know, you either have bought it on the breakout or you catch a retest. But you also know that, you know, you're going to find resistance here. Going to find resistance certainly here. I mean, nothing's for sure, but these are the areas you're looking at. When it takes the stairs down like this, you get these clear areas. Right? Stair, 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 which is like always, almost always the bottom of one move like this will coincide, you'll see, with the top of the next, right? So like you have this, let's see, I don't know how well it'll line up, but you have that candle right there, very, very close to that. So yeah, I think this looks pretty likely to be bottomed, but you also can't be surprised. Also, something else I just noticed, if you don't want to trade it like that as a inverse head and shoulders, I think this will make a channel. Very close. It's not working exactly right. 1 second. Trading view be tripping. That's not even the right tool, which makes me the tool. Indeed. Something like that. Right, not exact, but you would have definitely a broadening descending wedge with that same line and then this line slightly. So both of those are theoretically reversal decent patterns. BNB, all right, so it's doing what we hoped. I had BNB, Bitcoin, and USDT today were the only ideas that I shared. But you see, same thing. Inverse head and shoulders, breakout, retest. And even I said, actually, I think price was here, like perfectly retesting when I sent it out, but I said it might go deeper on the retest. You got to like this. And listen, the BNB USDT pair, nobody asked for it, but it looks the same. It looks the same. It would look the same if it would open, right? Looks the same. So no guarantees. We see these fail all the time. If Bitcoin shits the bed, everything's going, right? And, you know, Bitcoin dominance the other day bottomed out pretty hard. So you would expect that alts might have a rough time if Bitcoin moves at this point. Yeah, I mean, that's the view, right? This is the depth from the head to the shoulder, neckline, longest point from the breakout up. And that sends you right to 0.012482 is your target, which, I mean, almost exactly coincides with the highs. So this is a pattern that takes you back and retraces that entire move and puts BNB back on track to go into price discovery. DOT. There's another trash bag trade. I was definitely, I was definitely still bullish at the highs on a lot of things, hoping for price discovery. A lot of criticism you'll see of people is you were too bullish at the highs, which is always, retrospect after the move. Yeah, I mean, you're bullish on an entire bull run and you keep being bullish. And the job is to keep being bullish until the trend changes. So the trend happened to change at the highs on a lot of these. And that's when these setups all started to fail, right? See a lot of criticism. You always see that on Twitter. Well, you were shilling the top. Well, it wasn't the top until after we proved that it was the top, kind of how it works, unfortunately. Hindsight is really 2020 and easy to use to dunk on people. Let's see. I mean, these are all the same pattern, right? See this potential inverse head and shoulders kind of thing going on here? Like I would say it was like that with a perfect retest. Again, though, not really enough volume to confirm it here. Slight rise, but I would want to see volume. Although this is like these heads, the shoulders and heads were like the two main capitulations of the whole market. So there's no way you're going to get that kind of volume on the way up. You're just not, because these were fully capitulation, right? Look at that bounce. And then this is it, right? This perfect hammer, and that was a good signal. I mean, these lows, like this was your place to get long on so many coins, was after this, especially once you had a green confirmation after. You could have traded this from 17 up here to 24 very confidently. Or, yeah, and, this is going to be, this whole area is going to be resistance, clearly. Look at that, right? So right now you're looking for this if you're bullish. If you're bearish, you got rejected and you're coming back down. So if you bought anywhere down here, you might have already sold here and be looking to buy again if you get a confirmation of that flip. I don't really think this line is actually that meaningful. And again, I mean, if we're doing this, they're all going to look the same, clearly. Right? That one's better. So that alone should send you back to the top of the channel, which is like 31 bucks or something, where the top of these candles are. That is dot. It's a great comment. Not a top until you drop. That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Not a top until you drop. You were shilling all the top of these coins. Well, I mean, we were in a bull run and it turned to a bear market in like one day. So yeah, makes sense. Let's see here. EOS USD seems to have broken out. I mean, listen, a lot of these have broken resistance. The problem is there's just no volume happening when it does. Look at that capitulation candle. See something. No, there was no bullish divergence there. Again, inverse head and shoulders. Breaking resistance. Here's your neckline. Slight increase in volume on the way up. It's amazing how similar these look. And it looks like this on their Bitcoin pairs and their USD pairs. And the reason that that's probably the case is because this was the time when Bitcoin dropped and dominance rose. For a while, we had dominance going down. Bitcoin, whatever Bitcoin would do, dominance would still go down. So it would still be good for alts. And then we saw alts drop when Bitcoin dropped. It's the worst scenario, as we all felt. And so you get these patterns that mimic on the Bitcoin and the USD pair as opposed to looking different. But listen, I think this looks kind of good, right? This is definitely the descending 1, 2, almost 3, 4, 5, almost 6, 7 touches of that line. Call it 5 if you want to, like, whatever. Retest, tweezer bottoms. Daily. I'll get rid of that here. Idea is the same on the daily. It's just not exact, and it's still not closed on the daily. Maybe, you had this. It's a good lesson. Okay, I've talked about this before. This is called see this zone right here? I've talked about bullish and bearish breakers before and tried to find an example and just didn't have one pulled up. This is what you call a bearish breaker. Okay. And you would have drawn this here when price left, right? You draw this here as demand, an area where price is going to rise likely. Okay. And so you expect that to be support. When one candle nukes through it without finding support, and it's the same on the way up. If you have a supply zone and price nukes through it, it has to be on one candle. It can't stop. That would be a bullish breaker. This becomes resistance instead of support. And you can see that this is exactly where the 3 candles that have tested it went to die, right? Where your bullishness goes to die. Retest, retest, retest. So like if you're really conservative, you want to break this line, but then get above this and head up. If your style is order blocks and supply and demand. But I think EOS looks pretty good here. If you zoom in on the 4 hour, I think that there is a lot to like. Any chance of a bull trap with hella futures expiring Friday? Anything is possible. I don't think that we are. I don't think that we have gotten to a point. Sorry, I lost that comment. I don't think we've gotten to a point where we can call anything a reversal yet. I really don't. So, you know, all of these could just be reactionary bounces. ETH, interesting spot. Another on ETH Bitcoin pair looks like another inverse head and shoulders, doesn't it? I was looking at this morning, I think, and that's when I drew this line, which is broken. But listen, you know, this has an hour and 38 minutes. We could have 1, 2, 3 candles that drop below 4. Well, that one, yeah. That drop below this support and close above, that would be pretty bullish. If you drill in on the hourly, that's probably like a tiny little bull flag, right? The world's smallest bull flag. Something like that. Pull it back to here. I mean, these all look kind of fine, but they're one like Bitcoin hiccup away from doom, which is why it all feels kind of risky. I would say that this is real. I mean, you look at this is such a key area, right? And that's where all these wicks bounced, even pulling it back to here, this one, all these. And that's 1, 2, 3 perfect rejections here after it slightly broke down. I think it's 0.074. I think this is your key level. So I think that, you know, you don't really get bullish on ETH until you're above that. So you would want to look for something like that. But you do have this kind of thing going on, just like every other chart, seemingly. I mean, they all look the same. They all look the same. Zooming out, though, you know, lot to like on the ETH Bitcoin chart. One bad week. You know, on the Bitcoin chart, I talked about this the other day. We had not had 2 consecutive really bad weeks until last week. Generally, so maybe, you know, ETH has its one. Theoretically, this should be a bearish engulfing and should continue down, but you need another candle to confirm, and this candle looks pretty good so far. So I would say cautious optimism on ETH versus Bitcoin right now. And I think ETH USD, you know, bounced off support, back at resistance. Although, you know what? I don't think that's really a key area. Maybe if we drill into the daily, it will be. I'll pull it more here at this point. So I think 229,055. It's amazing when you zoom out this far how small on the chart 2,900 to 4,400 looks, right? On a logarithmic chart. And all this price action and all this doom that we just experienced is just this after all of this from like $80. Crazy when you look at it in perspective of percentages, how far this has really come before this drop. Yeah, I think this area is pretty key. This could be an ugly candle. We want to see the daily push up further. But yeah, I would want to be above 29.55. Really get above 3,000. This will start to look better. But this is a nice weekly candle so far. Daily is meh for now. And again, we have sort of an inverse head and shoulders kind of vibe going on here, which you either say it was this and has already retested, or you draw it like this and say it hasn't. Up to you. you can make an argument for both. And if you show the same chart to 100 people, you're going to get 100 different answers. Sorry, I just tweeted about this. PayPal to allow you to move Bitcoin to another wallet. I think this is so huge. I think it's so huge because this was the biggest criticism about PayPal. It's not your keys, not your coins. Valid, totally a valid criticism. But now you can send your Bitcoin off PayPal, send it to your private wallet. That makes PayPal just like any other exchange. It makes it directly competitive with the Coinbases and stuff of the world because it gives you that functionality. I think that's really big for people who want to own their own Bitcoin, but also want to do it on like PayPal is such a legacy platform. Can't stress how much people trust PayPal. And people there's a lot of people that don't trust Coinbase, right? Or they just don't trust crypto, right? So I think that that's massively huge news. I think it's massively huge. Did I leave that comment up there? I don't know. 1 second. Okay, Filecoin. Fill her up. Let's see. This might be a descending channel. I mean, this line is still valid, but listen, when you draw lines, it's not that they can be valid for a while. It had price action around it, but you want to start on the right. Most recent price action gets the bias. So I think that drawing something in this area is pretty cool because maybe not that exactly. Yeah. Look at all these candles hanging out here, right? And that's where this move ended. I mean, if I was trading this, I would and listen, guys, hey, note to self. First of all, I tell you, like in the last months, the market was so good, I wasn't really trading. Unless you call long-term swing trades, just buy stuff and hold it and wait a really long time. But I am not in my ideal emotional state. So when I say, hey, I'm doing analysis here, I'm not looking for trades. I am not trading. It's very important to be on your game and in the proper emotional state. I am currently tired and stressed. So I'm not going to trade. I'm not even going to look to trade. I'm not going to think about trading. How it is. You don't do that. No matter how good the opportunities are in my mind, you have to be in the perfect state of mind to make a decision. So this is what you want, right? That's the trade you want, which would be a 2x, right? 002 to 004, basically, depending where it breaks out. It might come over here, it might just go straight up and come here. The idea is you break this resistance. You can either buy the breakout, it's riskier, or a retest. It's risky to wait for the retest if you really want to get in because it might not happen. And then just go back to the highs of that channel. Now, if you want to view this as a bull flag, which you could, it's just getting a little long. But then you have, I would say, even 3 ways to draw it for a target. I like it here. That would be your flagpole. So wherever you break out, I don't know what just happened. I ended up on a Siri chart. So let me reopen file. A Bitcoin pair, yeah. So you would pull this to wherever you break out, and that should, oh, look at that. If it breaks out there, that takes you there. So, or you could draw the flagpole from here, but then you've come back too far. So no, that would be more than a 50% retracement of the flagpole. This might even be, but I still think it's pretty good looking. Well, that's way more than 50. I wouldn't call it a bull flag. I would say it's a descending channel and your target is here instead of here. And if it doesn't break out, no trade. No trade for me. That's Bitcoin. What are you doing? FTT, FTX token. Man, this had such a good run, and wow, I haven't looked at this. What a dump. Yeah, I was bullish on this up here too, because it was in price discovery. It was like from here, this had been the highs or something, so that's why I need stop losses. Man, I think you can even zoom out on the weekly for this to get a picture. I'm so savage. I mean, what an ugly week. Now this, it's fine. And yet again, first of all, it's hard to trade weekly charts on altcoins. But you're getting good follow through. We'll have to see how that ends the week. But like normally a candle that closes at a weekly candle that's Chad like that and closes at the weekly lows, that's pretty bearish. So pretty impressive that this is bouncing, but we'll have to see if it can maintain. This is your area that you would expect to bounce. So it's front running that. And on the weekly, you know that this is going to be your resistance, right? Same idea. Last candle up, big move down. Last candle down, big move up. Daily, pretty savage. Hard to even get an idea of support and resistance here when you were going up sort of on this angle, right? Because you didn't have those stairs I talked about. Like here, you get an idea. Topped out, bottomed out. You got a line right here, right? And also, this is on Huobi, so I don't know. But their volume is really low here compared to back before. I think this is a tough one, honestly. I would kind of look at it on the weekly and be really nice to just get back up into price discovery. But listen, fundamentally, I think you got to be pretty bullish on FTX, right? And Sam Bankman-Fried's like the richest guy in crypto because he knows what he's doing. And this is his exchange. So listen, on the daily, that's a nice flip. It's a really nice flip. So that's why you would have been looking to buy there. So hindsight 2020, so to speak. Hindsight 2020. Actually just looking at the comments. Here we are, FTT, cool. HNT, whatever you may be. Still, I mean, that's valid. I don't know why I'm taking it off. Continued up, past the highs, still rounding out. Do have a bit of a resistance here, I would say. Cryptos have a tendency to break through the top of ascending wedges like they're nothing. Technically, you would expect this to drop down here if it breaks down, but I'm not saying it will break down. And, wrong line. So at this point, we pull this up to here. But I mean, this is very close to price discovery again, right? You're at 38, just needs to get above 43.07. So regardless of all that, I would be looking to buy it here. Under that, you're taking the risk that you only get to here and then you get rejected. So I think that's pretty easy. Buy it above the highs. ICP USDT, I don't know what this is, but clearly it is brand new, only trading for 2 weeks or so. This is the 10th, it looks like. Hard to chart. 50 MA is brand new on the 4-hour, but acting as strong resistance. 1, 2, 3 rejections. Got some clear levels here. Yeah, that's a nice level. See, you started here and said, oh, that's the high. And then you look, 1, 2, 3, 4 candles rejected there. Be even better if you saw it as support. The best support resistance levels are the ones that have been tested from both sides. So like if one of these came down right to it, that'd be interesting, but still that's a strong level. I would pull a trend line from here. You can make an argument that it's broken out. I don't love it. Something like this. You definitely want to get above that 50 MA. It's brand new. So I would say that above that line, and then you're at least targeting here. Take this with a grain of salt. No price action, really. Right? I mean, this thing is brand spanking new. Yeah, I would buy it on a break of this. Maybe I have support here. Maybe I have support here. 50 MA, break above. So we're looking for one of these. KNC bouncing from the bottom of a big channel. I didn't see that. It's a perfect channel. This is an easy trade, actually, if you buy it somewhere down here, because you let it go if it closes below that wick below, but never close below. Pretty high risk reward, even just targeting like here at the EQ of the channel or this line. Is that line key? Yeah, it still works. Not as important as it was before. Really strong support there, strong resistance. Actually, pretty good. Now you might draw it over here somewhere. You know what? I'm going to pull it. Look at this area right here. You gotta get that exact a little more. That's the idea. If this can not, you can exit if this breaks down. Otherwise, it should be heading to the top of the channel. So I'd say that that looks pretty good. Link Bitcoin, nice bounce and hold above this ascending line. We talked about that last week. That was a really good entry down here. And once you flip this, now we're back at resistance again. So if you flip that, just play the levels. Pretty clear. Right? Something like that. Yeah, and this looks like a kind of a more convincing reversal than some. It's really moving well. Let's see how far that's retraced. Right to the golden pocket. So you got to be careful here. We talk about always getting that bounce to the 50. Well, that's right here. Got through that, but now you got the golden pocket, and this is where things love to reverse between 61 and 61.8 and 65%. Something above that. Which kind of coincides with the idea of flipping this line to support. So if you get above 0.0079499 and start to see it as strong support, I would say that Link BTC looks like it's ready to go up more. That's resistance for sure. Let me see. I'm looking here. Sorry, I clicked off the screen. Link USD. I would say you got to be back above that area. $31, 31,266. It's pretty strong. That's out. Let's look at it on the 4 hour. Same pattern, guys. Same shit. Same thing, and this one spiked. One volume. Let's get away with all of that for the moment. Break and retest, and the break had volume on the retest. That's nice. This is a much more convincing one, but still, right at that neckline resistance. So if you didn't get it, that was the retest. This was the entry, 26.55. So now you want to go here, and your target, if these play out from here to here, yeah, right around 51, which is the highs, right? Again, like takes you right back to the highs, and then you hope for price discovery. So that works. Link USD. Luna USDT struggling clearly at the 200. Look, this probably this had never even come close to the 200. It acted as support for a day, broke. You want to get above that if you're an MA trader. But the last 3 days are buying volume and strong. It's decreasing, which isn't great. But the capitulation volume on this was much less than the buying interest after the drop. Hopefully that's encouraging. clean. And you're going to find resistance here. You're going to find resistance here. You would expect. Well, maybe that. Yeah. And then something like this. I mean, you could even say that this is resistance. And that's testing it. But you definitely don't want the daily candle to close like that, ideally. Want to push up. I really want to see this above the 200 MA, even though I'm not an MA guy. Now I'm looking at it. So, you know, otherwise you try to catch a retest of the lows if it comes down. If these start coming down farther, we'll start looking at them again and try to get a better view. This again looks like an inverse head and shoulders, but not quite in this case. Say we have, you know, support coming through here, something like that. You know, I'm pushing up against, if you're looking at the 4 hour, then you're pushing up against this resistance kind of area. Pull it right here. So I would say this is a decent time if you're bullish, but then right here, I'd bounce above that and up to the next levels. VIX USDT. This one's trying to break back above the 200 on the daily, which you gotta love. All these charts need to be cleaned up after the huge drop because everything changed when the market kind of crashed, right? $9 to 389, what a drop. So here's your resistance that this is struggling with. Right here. If you're bullish, that's what you're looking for. Any of these could be entries if you want. I mean, I think it's risky. Even right now, breaking the 200. But it hasn't closed above it. You got to remember the day needs to close there. That's my general view on that. Matic, my God, what a beast. What a bounce. I mean, this looks like it's just pushing, still pushing again. This is resistance now. I don't know what's happening here in the order book. There. Even these are almost there, but push through that. I mean, this should be aiming at the highs. If we get a drop here on the 4 hour, if you get the chance, this whole area looks like support. So I'd be looking to buy in here if it drops at this resistance and head up. But I would not bet against Matic. MSGN, is that correct? That can't be correct. Let me see. Matic Ocean. I don't know why it says Ocean, but we've got Madison Square Garden. So let's open Ocean Bitcoin. And I know you guys are really concerned with what the Knicks are doing right now. I also realized that my mom was probably listening. And Mom, I'm sorry about that story that I told earlier. I probably shouldn't have shared that. It's kind of personal for the family. Bearish cross here of the 50 below the 200. I think we've got clear resistance here. It's a nice bounce right at support. Like this is, it swept these lows almost. It closed below, but very close to sweeping that low. I mean, on a macro level, I think you want to get above this line, right? We can call it that, but even to be safe, that'll be a massive breakout. And you have a bearish cross of the 50 and 200 death cross right here. So that's going to be resistance. But this is a really nice daily candle right now. And it'll have more volume and it will close higher, inevitably. But this is resistance. This is all resistance. This is resistance. I think once you start to get above here is where you're in the clear. So I think it's risky below that. Tough. I think a lot of these are setting up for potential nice moves, but haven't confirmed anything. That's basically what I think. Sky, whoa, that can't be the right chart. Yep, it is. This is how we used to look at my charts privately, is weekly, hourly. We're gonna have to delete all this crap. Oops. Just got a full mouthful of RSI just now. You're welcome. You are welcome for that incredible, delicious taste of RSI. Hope you enjoyed it. I mean, what the ever-loving shitballs is that? I do not know. But it makes it real hard to chart. Let's pretend that doesn't exist and just say here, yeah. This is your resistance, right? 1, 2, almost 3, 4, 5. Here's your support. Right there. Has a little descending triangle vibe. It's like a bouncing ball, right? The reason that people view descending triangles as weak is because you get a high, low, lower high, low, lower high. It's like a bouncing ball that just can't get any momentum. But 62% of the time, descending triangles break to the upside when they're after a move up. So you expect this to actually break up more of the time than not. But you want to do that, you know? And if you're looking for a down play, you short that or sell that. Because you have true plans. You're going to have a lot of resistance in this area. Like all through here. Yeah, I would want to be above all that before I would trade this. Just going to look over at the comments really quick. Any news about the Tim Draper podcast? Should be next week, I would imagine. Wow, this is fake. Clearly, there's somebody spamming with my name, which is not a good time. Not a good time at all. Why can't my alt perform like Matic? Said everybody who doesn't have Matic right now. Thank you for that. That's very kind. Just moving on. STX, Bitcoin. I don't know. This was all valid. Well, this is definitely valid. I mean, what? You don't love that candle. If you're trying to be bullish here, that got pushed all the way back down. You're a little nervous. I think once you're above this area, you can start to worry about it less. Clearly invalidates any bear flag because it went so high. Tough one, though. I think that you have definitely some support here. I would say you would have had resistance here, but that broke through it, so supply should be gone, technically. This is an impossible chart with those wicks, guys. I don't know. Tough market right now. Tough crowd. I gets no respect. If you use that way, this is your line, but I don't think it's fair to do that. I think this is a really, this is the key area because of resistance, clean support, break, and is acting as resistance. So you can start talking about it here, but then you're going to find resistance here. Everything right now looks like it's going to have a difficult climb, honestly, just because this created so much resistance up ahead. Something like that. SRMUSDT. Interesting place to bounce. This flipped the 200 MA on the daily already and is headed up. That's pretty bullish. Something in here-ish for sure. That whole area, but really up here. I mean, this is going to be rough, probably, if it gets up here. But you're pretty psyched if you get that high. Sounds like a quote from Cheech and Chong. Bounce here, maybe. This whole area is resistance, though, right? All this price action. Shit, I think we can basically just draw a resistance here, top of that, bottom of that. So if you get above that, then you're looking at here-ish, and here. There's a lot of resistance. Support is right through here, where both these candles found support, which is obviously very close to this. Yeah. That's how I view it. Looks better than some because it's already flipped that 200 MA back to support. Sushi, another few bad ideas before the dump. Last round was of charts, pretty garbage. Guess that's what happens when your market tops. Oh, stop. Is that my phone telling me that there's an alert on Sushi? That's funny. Thank you for that. I think that's still a valid line. These are all old, but they all worked. That one nuked. Tough. Nice moves. $6. I mean, this went to 13. This is more than doubled from that bottom in 3 days. If you caught these bounces somehow, if you were like a perfect knife catcher, probably made a lot of money. We do have increasing volume here. That looks like a capitulation volume. Like if you saw that on top, you'd be like blow off top. If that was upside down and you had this volume, still much bigger volume buying here than any of the volume we had here. But really hard to chart. Really hard to chart this. Maybe you call that. I mean, you would have. Listen, same inverse head and shoulders vibe, right? Because this is what Bitcoin did. It pushed, it consolidated, pushed again, and now it's drifting up. So they all are kind of reflecting that chart. Yeah, if you break that and above this, maybe you consider it. That's about it for that. Theta is at resistance. I don't even have to look. See that, right? Could even pull this up to here at this point. It's consolidating against that resistance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 6th candle. You got to close above it or it's coming down. But if you close above that, that's a pretty strong move. So again, you're looking for this, and you're looking to come right into here off this candle, which would be, we're at $7. That'd be up to $9. Pretty good move. Then you start worrying about higher targets. That was a bearish SFP of the all-time high and retest before the drop, right? That was liquidity for all of this. Really interesting spot right here. So I think you're looking for a break of this, above this and above this, really. And then you're going to find all kinds of resistance at the top of this move, 50 MA, and then you'd be heading up here. But right now, got to get above that, or it's still bearish below that line. TRX USDT, another bearish breaker. Well, it was tested there, so maybe you wouldn't think so, but kind of. I think it's still valid. Got to get above that. Another inverse head and shoulders, right? Every coin looks the same. Crazy. So choose your line. You want that one that shows the bullish picture, or this one that says it's not broken out? Either is fair. I think this one is probably the most fair because that hasn't made the shoulder yet. So boom, 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 break. I want to get above that. Forget all this. Point. It's over here. That's probably around the target of this. Breakout right there. Yeah. So you're looking for a move up to, 0.11794. If you like this inverse head and shoulders idea. Risky though. You got to get above that, and then you've got all kinds of other resistance up here. None of them look bad. It's just I don't see any reason to jump in. Everything, look at bearish breaker. It's the same. This one does not have an inverse head and shoulders because that went too deep. Right, the shoulder, you can't, the head has to be the low for it to be a reversal. So that doesn't actually count on VET USDT. So you probably have another resistance coming down here, right around where price is. Get above that. I think you want to be back above this zone. You're going to find resistance here. All this is resistance, and then up here again. But listen, I mean, these do look like they could be reversing. Hard to call it. Maybe above this line. I mean, clearly the time to buy was a couple of days ago when everything bottomed. But hindsight is 2020 on that. Yeah, above that purple zone. YFI BTC. Well, that's what we had drawn, and it was mostly doing it, but came way down here. This does have a bullish cross, actually, of the 50 and 200 MA on the daily, and it held both as support. So I think this idea is still intact, actually. Nothing has invalidated it. This looks actually pretty good, pretty strong. Big drop, of course, but reacted really nicely. Reversal candle, huge bullish engulfing, and now it's back above that support. I think that idea is still intact. YFI USDT. That area seems very key. Hard to get an exact beat on it. Say now it's like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, look, guys. Potential inverse head and shoulders. Yeah, I think you got to get above this line and that, and then you can target this whole area up here. Everything up here is resistance. Big, big resistance area, but it would be a nice big move if you could trade that up to there. ZECBTC. Old charts with those lines hold pretty well. A lot of support, resistance. See, we still have these like macro breakouts that we had. They just made big moves already, but like technically just this breakout here should be sending this to 0.0087. It might just really take a long time, but that's almost, 2.5x or something. Tough charts today because they all kind of look the same. It's what you want if you're bullish, but you might get this. Right? You're at resistance. So, but I mean, this was a nice kind of reversal candle, bullish engulfing. I mean, those signals on the dailies on these look good. for reversals. These are all bottoming patterns. When you have a big wick like this, and then you have a bullish engulfing candle, that's a bottoming candle pattern. So you would expect this to keep going up. Really hard to enter here until you flip 0.00405. I don't remember opening Sol, but I must have missed it. Is that on my list? It was. Sorry, guys, I skipped Sol. Here it is, Solana. What a beast. We had lots of trades on this. I wonder if there's a big bear div here. Yeah, there was. Big overbought bear div there. Good sign of a top. I'd say that this whole area is your sport. Something like that. Clearly your resistance is the all-time high. You really, I know it's a big move, but you really want to get above that all-time high. There's definitely something happening through here. Yeah, that'd be my view. If you're trading it super locally, maybe you draw that as your support and say, I'm out if that breaks, because you have kind of a bear flag forming here. I think you should be at least getting up to the 50. But yeah, that could be a bear flag. Ascending wedge at the very worst, which, like I said, tend to break to the upside. I think you got to get above 0.0091738, and then you're heading up to here and just play the levels if you're going up. But you're at resistance now. You can't buy it. Bitcoin also looks like an inverse head and shoulders, but had that longer wick down, which I realized late. Yeah, this is ugly. Like, you definitely want to close Bitcoin above 38,889 today, or you have 1, 2, 3 rejections at this local resistance. You would expect that to come down. We want to close above that. Then we can start talking about 42,000, in my humble opinion. DJ Jazzy Jeff is my favorite DJ, so that makes a lot of sense. Okay, guys, it is 3:03 p.m., which means I am out of here. Once again, check out the newsletter in the description. Check out Cosmos, and thank you for your support and for being here. Been a rough run, but it's always good to hang out with you guys, look at some charts, and dig into what is important here. Peace out, my friends. Once I can find the video. Peace.
Let's go.